All right, guys, welcome back for another video. Again, today we're not doing another activity just because of the fact that we've got another candidate survey to go through. Today's is brought to us by, what was their name? Where is it? Equality, Utah. So we're going to go ahead and jump right in, fill this out, and give you guys a chance to see what I'm being asked along with how I'm answering these surveys, because again, I'm starting to do this as we're starting to get these surveys, because of the fact that I think it's important for you guys not just to know that I'm filling them out, but also to see exactly what I'm being asked and how I'm answering them, because of the fact that obviously you probably want to know how I plan to represent you going into DC at the end of this year. All right, so first things first, it looks like it's a lot of just basic information, where I live, what my name is, which my name is John Molnar, for those of you who don't know. Address, city is Eagle Mountain. State, obviously Utah. Sorry, this part's a little boring for you guys. Maybe we'll edit this out, maybe not. I don't know. We'll see how I feel. Phone number. Okay, again, I haven't looked at the, can't talk this morning. As I've been getting these, I don't read through these before I go and film and answer them, because I want you guys to see my reactions as I'm being asked the questions. I have filled out a few of these before without filming them, and that's why I started filming them, because as I was getting some of these and I was filling them out, sending them back in, it just seemed like there was a lot of wasted opportunity for you guys that are out there watching me, and getting some more information. So I thought it was a good idea to go ahead and start filming these like we did with the Campaign for Liberty one as the last video. All right, what office am I seeking? U.S. House. What district? Utah. Utah 4th District. Stop capitalizing random words. 4th District. This one is on my tablet. I got this in the campaign email a few days ago, so that's why we're doing it on here rather than with a pen. All right, upload a high resolution headshot. Man, there's a lot of stuff to this one for just basic info. Let's get that in there. Okay. Yeah, I did the right photo. Okay, good. All right, let's go to next. Policy related question. Here we go. So now we got the questions. So question number 1. Please answer the following questions to the best of your ability, even if you don't believe they apply to your particular office. Okay. So it says it's currently legal in Utah to deny service to an LGBTQ person in a place that provides service to the general public. Some examples include restaurants, hotels, healthcare facilities, retail spaces. If approached with this legislation or an opportunity to effect change on this legislation policy, how likely are you to champion the passage of legislation that would extend public accommodation protections for sexual orientation and gender identity? Okay, so this one's obviously a loaded question. Look, there's some issues in this type of question because of the fact that you're starting to get into property rights and issues on the free market. Like, whether I agree with it or not, I think you're kind of a dick if you deny somebody service just based on their sexual orientation or what they look like. But should the government be able to say that how businesses should be conducted is a whole different story. This is getting into that conversation we have with that baker over in Colorado who keeps getting sued for refusing to do it because of religious freedoms. Okay, so if approached with this legislation or an opportunity to effect change on this legislation/policy, how likely are you to champion the passage of legislation that would extend public accommodations protections for sexual orientation and gender identity? I think this one would really have to depend on how it's worded more than anything, because I'm looking at this kind of similar to the anti-discrimination laws that we had for, say, when we had segregation in this nation. It's obviously not good, but what do you do about forcing people to how they conduct business? Obviously, that is completely anti-free market. It would be essentially crony capitalism. I think the better decision really at this point is, you know, going by the free market. If somebody is going ahead and practicing these and you don't agree with them, like I wouldn't agree with somebody saying that they won't serve somebody who's a different sexual orientation. I would just take my money somewhere else. Let them starve out. Why do we need the government to come in and go ahead and dictate to them how they should do, rather than taking our money and taking it somewhere else and starve that person out? That's one of the beautiful things about capitalism and a free market, when it's actually free, is that you can take your money to somewhere else, and if you don't like how a business is conducting their business, they'll just starve out and go under anyways. They should be allowed to die. So I'd have to say that actually I'd be very unlikely to support this type of legislation, just based off of that. And for explaining my answer, I'm just going to put see YouTube video of filling out this survey. Corrected survey to surgery. Hold on. Survey at Molnar 2020. Okay, so you guys, if you guys see this explanation at Equality Utah and you're looking at why I'm answering very unlikely, you know, hopefully you're checking out this video. Like I said, like I don't agree with that stuff, with businesses practicing that way, but I'm even stronger on the government coming in and dictating to people how they have to conduct business. That's been a very big issue of mine with this whole coronavirus stuff going on. And if I'm not willing to back down on businesses should be able to operate freely without government restrictions during a biological pandemic, yeah, I don't think I'm going to be able to go for it just based off of sexual orientation. The best answer really is just take your money somewhere else. Let that business starve and go under. Let them go out of business. Let them go bankrupt. Who cares? Let them die. But there's no need for the government to come in and use force to make them do what you want them to. I mean, everybody talks about being against fascism, but only when it's not their form, you know, but they always have their preferred form of fascism that they'd be willing to do. And I don't like the government coming in and telling us how to do anything. So even though I support people being able to be a different sexual orientation and get married and everything else, like I don't agree with businesses being told how to operate. All right, so just take your money somewhere else. All right, transgender people are often denied benefits by their insurance companies for mental health or transitional related care such as hormones. If approached with this legislation or an opportunity to effect change on this legislation / policy, how likely are you to champion the passage of legislation that will extend health insurance benefits to transgender employees and or their family members? Okay, this one's a weird one because, look, you're talking about insurance companies and different types of claims, something that I actually have experience in working with and trying to get myself. And I get denied because of my mental health issues that I have, you know, things like depression, anxiety, and things like that. Like I can't get life insurance in a lot of cases because I'm considered too high of a suicide risk. That's just something I have to deal with. I don't see why being transgender, you feel like you're excluded just because of that, because like anybody with a mental health disorder has to deal with that too. And that's just a cold hard fact, is we have a higher suicide rate. I mean, transgender people have an even higher suicide rate. So, I mean, while I get that it sucks, again, I don't know. This might depend on the wording a little bit as well, because, you know, I don't see this as a transgender issue. This is a mental health issue. And so when you're taking it as a transgender issue, I'm going to assume that you're going to exclude people like me who aren't transgender, but who do have the similar mental health issues that also can't get covered. So based on the fact that it seems a little discriminatory against people like myself, based on the fact that it's targeting only transgender people, I'm going to have to say unlikely. Again, see the video for the explanation. I'm just gonna leave the explanation blank. You know, I'm going to put undecided on that one, just because I think that depends on what you're trying to do and who you're trying to target, rather than very unlikely. Because I'm just not sure exactly what you're asking. This seems like it's a little too narrow of a topic, and it should be expanded out to just mental health in general, rather than transgender. I'm going to just make sure I'm reading this right. If approached with this, like, transgender people are often denied benefits by their insurance companies for mental health and transitional related care, such as hormones. Yeah, you know, this is just, I would like to say I'm willing to work on this one, but, you know, the whole issue that I'm having with it is that it's targeting only transgender. And maybe that's because it very much seems like Equality Utah. All right, I'm getting that this is probably an LGBT advocacy group, and that's fine. But when you get a question like this, and this is one of the things I have a problem with some of these surveys, is because some of the questions actually should be more broad, and they narrow them down to the point where I can't support it. Like, how do you want me to support transgender mental health without talking about mental health as a whole? You know, mental health isn't just a transgender issue. That's an issue for veterans. That's an issue for everyday people. You know, that's an issue we all deal with. And the health insurance issues with it don't apply only to transgender people. That's just wrong. So I'm going to have to say undecided just because of that. I'm not quite sure what you're asking. Your scope is too narrow in your question, and it doesn't apply to everybody that it affects. I mean, you've got a whole range of people that this affects, including myself, who I would like to do some work on it with you. But if you're going to exclude that type of stuff and focus only on the transgender issue, then I'm sorry, but I can't work with you on that one. So we're going to leave it as undecided. Hopefully we can have a conversation later on a little bit more in depth about this issue to go into it further. All right, so let's leave it as undecided and move on. Do you agree with the following statement? Transgender Utahns should have the liberty to seek medically necessary evidence-based healthcare free from discrimination. See, that I can get on board with. That absolutely, strongly agree. Done. That's one of the nice things about being on the Libertarian ticket, is it's all your freedoms all the time, regardless of what your identity politics group is. All right, like, I can get on board with that, and that should apply to more to just transgender. I'm going to have a little bit of issue with, you know, that just being transgender. But again, this seems like an LGBT group, so I get why you'd ask it a little bit narrowly, a little bit more narrowly focused, rather than the last one, which, I mean, that question should not have been transgender only. You guys should have gone with mental health approach, and I'd have been much more friendly to that one. All right, so moving on, because obviously strongly agree transgender Utahns should be able to have the liberty to seek medically necessary, whatever they think is necessary. That should be between their doctor and them, not between the government, period. I mean, I make that argument for medical marijuana. I'm going to make that argument for transgender, and I'm going to make that argument for cancer, right to try, and everything else. That anything to do with a medical anything should always be between the patient and the doctor, and the government should stay out of it. All right. Moving on, do you agree with the following statement? All women, including lesbians, should be able to seek fertility treatments free from discrimination. So fertility treatments is a little bit of a pretty broad category. All right. You know, when it comes to things like getting birth control to be over the counter so that it's easier to access, I absolutely support that one. I don't see why you need a pharmacist to be able to go do so, or to go to Planned Parenthood to be able to get birth control. Like, there's a lot of things with birth control I have issues on, but when it comes to abortion, that's what I'm getting worried on if we're asking, because that's a whole different topic, and we could do an entire video series on the topic of abortion. But I'm not sure if we're getting into the abortion part of it, or if we're just talking about like birth control and anything like that. Because, I mean, getting into birth control, that's easy. Like, yes, I support it. But abortion gets a little bit more complicated because you've got people on both sides that argue whether it's life or whether it's not life at that point. And, I mean, that's a whole load of can of worms that I don't really like getting into, just because we've had that conversation as a nation for so long and we can never get anywhere that it just seems like a waste of time at the federal level. I mean, with abortion, I'd rather kick it back to the states and just let the states decide, because obviously trying to have that conversation at the federal level has been nothing but a waste of time. and a complete distraction from other issues that we could be resolving. And we can't get anything done about abortion at the federal level. We've got states that are bigger than most other countries, and our culture varies greatly across this nation, from East Coast to West Coast and dead center of the nation. And so rather than having, to agree on one topic that seems so divisive as a nation, I'd rather just kick that back to the states. So I'm going to say agree to this one because it's asking fertility treatments. It's not asking abortion specifically, and abortion we'd have to get into. So fertility treatments, I agree. I'm going to not do the strongly agree just because I'm not quite sure exactly what you would like included in the definition of fertility treatments. But, I'm going to kind of go with fertility treatments being more maybe birth control. It seems like I would think, because abortion isn't really a fertility treatment. That's an abortion. So I'm going to say agree just because of those reasons. All right, let's move on. Do you agree with the following statement? LGBTQ couples should be able to seek adoption services free from discrimination. Strongly agree. That one's easy. Look, I know there's some people out there who don't think that LGBT should be able to adopt kids. They have the idea that it takes a man and a woman to be able to adopt, and when you've got same gender, transgender, whatever, then it's going to cause problems for the kids. Well, my argument is if you look back at the State Department report for 2019 in human trafficking, it actually shows that the biggest issue with human trafficking in the United States is due to our foster care system. So the more kids we can get out of foster care and being victims of human trafficking and sex trafficking, the better. I don't see being a different sexual orientation or a different, gender or sexual identity, being a worse issue than being human trafficked in foster care. I don't care what your sexual orientation is, and I don't care who you choose to love or if you're a single parent. Let's get these kids out of foster care, get them adopted into a stable home. So yeah, strongly agree they should be able to adopt. It's better than the kid not having a parent. That's just a dumb one. Strongly agree. All right, moving on. Do you agree with the following statement? State law adequately protects religious liberty. Disagree. I'm not going to go strongly disagree because I don't know. I just don't think Utah is too horrible. I'm a different religion than most people in this state. Utah, it's not a secret. Most of the people here are LDS. I'm an atheist. Okay, I've been through some stuff with people not liking me being atheist, but as far as a state law that says I have to be Mormon, no. But there is definitely some stuff where, the state predominant religion seems to have a bit of influence. I don't like that, being a different religion than everybody else. And even on the Christian side of it, Mormon side, whatever, I don't think religious liberty has been protected very well at all for anybody. Looking at the coronavirus pandemic, for example, shutting down people's churches was a huge religious liberty violation for all of us, whether you're atheist, Baptist, Muslim, Christian, Catholic, Buddhist, whatever. Shutting down our churches was bad. It's really weird for me to be the atheist fighting for people to go back to church, but whatever. So disagree because I don't think that the state protects religious liberty, but I'm not going to go strongly disagree just because I don't think it's full blown like some other places I've been in are. All right, moving on. Do you agree with the following statement? Laws impacting the LGBTQ community should be drafted with the feedback and participation of the LGBTQ community. Laws impacting the LGBTQ community should be drafted with the feedback and participation. I think all of our laws impacting any of us should be treated this way. And I've seen it not just, we're talking about LGBT right here, but we saw this last year with the tax referendum, with the tax reform, where a lot of the people were talking to the state legislature about the tax reform bill that they were trying to push. We didn't like it, and they didn't listen to us. So I think people just in general should be listened to and be given the chance to give feedback and participate, and that the politicians should actually listen to them. So I'm going to go ahead and say strongly agree. I think that again, this shouldn't just be an LGBTQ community issue. This is a all of us issue. So I'll go ahead and say strongly agree for this one. All right, do you agree with the following statement? Transgender Utahns should have the ability to amend their birth certificates consistent with their gender identity. I don't know, because I just don't really care about this topic. I mean, I know that might sound a little harsh, but it seems kind of like a trivial thing to me. I mean, if you want to alter your birth certificate, then I don't really care. Go ahead. It doesn't affect me. But I mean, at the same time, like, for those people who are like, no, you can't do it. Why do you care? Should have the ability to amend their birth certificates. I mean, your birth certificate's just a piece of paper, the same way as a marriage certificate is. It's kind of a joke that we even have them. All right, so I'm just going to say agree. You know, amending your birth certificate is a different issue than some of the other things we get into with, you know, like where you've had guys who try and claim they're a woman so they can go into women's prison. I mean, I've heard that one a few times. That's a different topic. Let's not confuse one issue with another. This is just birth certificate. Like, I don't care. Go ahead. It doesn't affect me anyways. Why would I care? And if you're somebody who's fighting against it, I'm going to ask you the same thing. Why do you care? Like, how does that affect you? All right. Like, just stay in your lane, people. All right, moving on. Would you support the state of Utah ratifying the Equal Rights Amendment so that women will be included in the U.S. Constitution? I don't know what that is even asking. What do you mean, so women will be included in the U.S. Constitution? They are. Like, they already are. I'm going to have to say probably disagree with this one because you're starting to get into a linguistics perspective. Something I actually have a lot of experience in. Linguistics was part of my job working in Intel for the Army. And this very much seems like one of those that, who was it? State Senator Henderson, Deidre, was talking about wanting to change it so that it says man and woman instead of just man. Well, you know what? That's just a waste of taxpayer money, and you're confusing the hell out of people because linguistically speaking, the word man includes woman. When you're talking in the plural form, they're both the same thing. So you're getting into a linguistics point of it, and I'm just going to say that's a waste of time. I mean, I haven't looked at the Equal Rights Amendment too much. I know there's supposed to be some good things in there and some bad things in there. But the one thing I'm going to focus on right here is that the women will be included in the U.S. Constitution. We had the right of women to be able to vote. The word man includes the word women when speaking in plural form. Like, I'm not sure exactly why this is even an issue. If it's an issue for you, I'm just going to say you just obviously don't understand English. And you don't understand how words work, because the fact is that when in the plural form in almost every single language, man is just inclusive of everybody. It's not whoever has a penis. It's just everyone when you're speaking in plural form. Now, obviously, original intent was man only, being actual male rather than male and female. But we've added amendments that have allowed women to be included as everything. And so you're arguing over a linguistic standpoint at this point, and it's really just a waste of time for you to feel good about doing absolutely nothing. It's kind of that whole Latin X nonsense that they try and push out when it completely disregards that in Spanish. Masculine includes feminine in the plural form. The same thing applies to English as well, in case you were wondering. So I'm just going to have to say disagree because of that. I mean, I'm not going to say strongly disagree just because, if there are probably parts in the Equal Rights Amendment that I might be willing to consider. But I haven't taken a very good look at it. So we're going to leave it as disagree rather than strongly disagree, just because and then focusing on the fact that women being included in the U.S. Constitution. They already are. So that, no, I'm not, I couldn't support that portion of it just because it would be repetitive waste of my time and your time. We don't need to change the Constitution to include man and woman. We just need people to actually understand the English language, and that when speaking in masculine, in the plural form, actually includes masculine and feminine. That's just how languages work. So I'm not going to waste your guys' time or my time just because some people don't understand how language works. All right. And so moving on. Let's hit next. How much have you fundraised to date? That's a good question. I haven't checked for a minute. I've actually been funding pretty much everything out of my own pocket. So I'll just throw a rough estimate in there. Okay, if you're reading it, like if this is Equality Utah, you're watching this, I don't know what, I'm just putting in a number because pretty much everything is just funded out of my own pocket right now. I've been doing that for a while. All right, using percentages, please indicate where your campaign contributions have been coming from. Personal contributions, pretty much, we'll say 90% roughly of personal contributions are mine. Or of contributions are mine, roughly. Online contributions are pretty much the rest of them from select individuals who have made donations. Thank you to those who have. All right. Would you like to provide any additional information about your fundraising or expenditures? Not really. I don't know. There's not a lot to say. Haven't been spending a lot. Been running on a pretty, small scale operation. Doing it myself. Trying to be fiscally responsible. Let's see. Invalid number. Oh, is it because I put a percentage sign at the end? I think so. All right, let's try retyping all this. 10. There we go. Okay, follow-up questions. Why is the advancement of LGBTQ rights important to you? So this one, I don't think it's really so much the rights of LGBTQ people that are important to me. It's more just the fact that we as individuals should have more rights in general. And, when you boil it down to that point of focusing on the individual, that includes everybody, no matter what skin color, no matter what sexual orientation, no matter what gender, that's just kind of my focus. It's not like I really focus on a group. I'm just down to help out LGBT because that's another group of individuals who want some rights, and I support the rights of individuals. So let's just put down because LGBTQ are individuals same as anyone else, deserving of the same rights as individuals as anyone else. Okay, so because LGBTQ are individuals, same as anyone else, and deserving of the same rights as individuals as anyone else. Let's put same as anyone else at the end of there. All right. Other than LGBTQ rights, what other issues are important to you? The rights of individuals as a whole. That's whole with a W. Yeah, okay. Spelling's hard. The rights of individuals as a whole. If I want to type anything else into there. That's really it. I don't have any pet projects other than I do get into some Greek relations just because of the fact that I am Greek. And that's stuff that doesn't get talked about a lot. But really it just comes down for me and my campaign and how I feel is that all of us are individuals. We're all unique. We all have our own different individual circumstances, and that we are best capable of knowing what is best for us. And as long as you aren't hurting somebody else, then nobody should be able to tell you how to live your life. You should, like, life, liberty, pursuit of happiness should apply to everybody. It shouldn't just be an LGBTQ rights issue. It shouldn't just be a racial issue for specific races. This is something that applies to everybody, because the individual is always the smallest minority. And that's the point of our government, really, is to protect the rights of the individuals. So I'm just going to leave it as that, of the rights of individuals as a whole. If elected, what are your top legislative policy/priorities? Okay. Let's see. Man, I've been doing these videos for a while, and there's quite a few of them. So we're just going to say a return to representation, because that's one of our little talking points. To representation. More transparency, like much more transparency. Let's see. Return to representation, more transparency. Top legislative policy priorities. All right, look, you guys are watching because I don't want to type all this up. Look, I've been running on things like ending civil asset forfeiture, because that's horseshit that the government can take away things that belong to us without even bringing charges to us or actually convicting us of a crime. Like, that's nonsense. Cutting down their pay, because their pay is far above and beyond what we as the people get. And there's no possible way you're going to convince me that our representatives actually know how to represent us when they live about 2 to 3 times at least more, or have about 2 to 3 times more income than the people that they're actually supposed to be representing. Like, they don't live within the same type of means that the rest of us do. They can't represent us. Fixing the VA healthcare for the veterans. I said ending civil asset forfeiture. I want to end the war on terror, bring us back out of Iraq and Afghanistan. Like, there's a whole bunch of stuff that I have as top priorities. If you guys need to know more, please go down through my video list here on the YouTube channel, and there's plenty of it, along with the actual agenda that I'm running on, which is always in the description for every single video. It's a 13-point agenda you can read more in depth on. So let's see. All right. And so, a return representation, more transparency, and see YouTube videos for more info. Okay, let's hit next. If elected, how might you champion and advance the rights of the LGBTQ community? I mean, I think one of the biggest things, like I said, is just getting us a point to return to representation, so that when we have politicians in office, they feel they actually represent us rather than acting like they rule over us like they do right now. I mean, that's not specifically for the LGBTQ community, but I think when you go on that level, you just kind of catch everybody with that. And so that is pretty good in and of itself, is that we should have our politicians actually representing us. We should protect the rights of individuals, not just the rights of groups. And so when you focus on an actual representation in government and actually protecting the rights of the individuals, then the rest follows. Like rights for the LGBTQ community. God, it's a mouthful. All right. I'm just going to say see video for details. Actually, you know what? We'll say by protecting the rights of the individual, protecting the rights of the individual, the rights for LGBTQ will follow. The rights also focusing on a return to representation So LGBTQ voices can be actually heard. I mean, it's not just so LGBTQ voices can actually be heard, it's for everybody, but I'm just going to put it as LGBTQ because of who's asking the question. All right, if you are endorsed by the Equality Utah PAC, would you accept a public endorsement? That one's kind of weird. Like, if you're going to endorse me, then why would I turn it down? It's not like you're the Young Turks who want to deny my people's genocide and want to see it come back again round 2. Yeah, looking at you, Cenk Uyghur. So yeah, I'll just say yes. I mean, I don't know anything super horrible about the Equality Utah PAC. All right, enter the word in the image, if I can see it. And why do they always make these so small? All right, that looks like a C. I-N-K. Submit. Please review the form and collect. Man, I failed the reading. Type in the letters part. I hate these. Do you guys struggle with the Google, like, pick the pictures that have sidewalks and stuff like I do occasionally? Like, I don't know who they make these for, but I swear they're not supposed to actually be solved the first 2 or 4 times. Let's see. Fingers crossed. Enter the word in the image. Look at this. Okay. Half the word isn't being shown. Like, I can't even click on it to see. I'm going to take a guess here because that looks like a J. It's still not working. Oh my God. Okay, finally we got a word that wasn't cut off at the bottom. Trying to guess. Ah! It went through. Okay, so Equality Utah, we'll put this video up on YouTube for you guys to see more of the information that I answered in response to it. Yeah, there's a couple of these that I'm sure you guys might want to follow up some questions on. I mean, I would love to talk about some of these a little bit more and try and figure out a little bit more of what you're asking because I was a little confused on some of these questions. So anyways, we're going to go ahead and cut the video there. That's the response. If you guys want to talk, have any questions or anything further you'd like to discuss, drop some comments down below. As always, like, click, subscribe to follow along for more. My name is John Molnar. I'm the Libertarian candidate for Utah's 4th District Representative of the United States Congress this year. Don't forget to vote for me to tell DC enough.